a lot of people in sort of pop culture thinking that this could be the end.
Yeah, so well, the dip that you're talking about is actually nothing new for Bitcoin. As far as percentage terms go, if we look at it historically, we've seen these types of pullbacks before.
And there he is, the man himself, CEO and founder, Quantum Economics, Marty Greenspan, staring up at the screens. You look like you're deep in thought. You're probably playing Quantum Smash, is what you're doing. You're playing a video.
I'm retweeting the room, dude.
Yes, I just did as well. Yeah. It's great. This is kind of an impromptu live stream. Like we just called an audible. You're like, hey man, guess what? I don't have rockets over my head. I can do a live stream.
Yeah, it's amazing actually. Like, you know, there's that old saying, you know, when something, you get used to something and then all of a sudden it's not there anymore. Like we learned to live with those explosions, and now there's none. And so I can go out of the house, I could do things, I could take my kids to school, take them to the park. It's real, man, and it's fun, and just getting back to life, and enjoying every moment of it, making a lot of progress on everything we're doing at Quantum Economics. Several new projects on the deck, actually a full new technology stack behind the scenes that I'm not at liberty to disclose just yet, but let's say it just ties everything together as far as quantum coin, quantum assets, quantum expeditions, and just like it's and potentially revolutionary for the AI HPC market, let's say. So more details on that to follow.
Oh man, you can't. I mean, you probably gonna got so many people like going, "What the hell is he just talking about?" Like
we just drop in little hints, and we'll let people put the pieces together.
You're going drip feed it on the socials. Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah, and let's just say that this is not a Monty Greenspan special. This is actually a good friend of mine who I've known for quite a while. He's helped me out with a lot of structural things within quantum economics over the years. I never knew he was a dev, and suddenly he just came out and go, "Hey, I built this," and it just ties the whole thing together. And by the way, he wants to stay anonymous, which I think is pretty awesome. But I think it's gonna be pretty cool. And for anybody who is part of the family and wants to know more, you feel free to DM me. I can give you the website, the GitHub repo, and everything like that. You could plug it into Claude and see how awesome this is. But for now, I'm not gonna. That's about all I'm gonna say publicly.
That's probably all you should say publicly, maybe at this point as well.
Probably a bit too much, but I think over the course of this show, we'll probably do a lot of things publicly that we probably shouldn't be. But fuck it, man.
It's a live stream. We can't take it back. I'm just here. Hang on, buckle up, retweet the room, let folks know the CEO and founder of Quantum Economics, Marty Greenspan's hopping on a live stream, and he's breaking the rules. You know, your beard's looking well trimmed, by the way. I love this beard. Do you use any beard product, by the way? Do you use anything in that?
Danielle, I got my first compliment on your beard.
It's well trimmed. I love the shape of it. It's yeah.
My for the Passover, my wife has a tradition of getting gifts. And I have a tradition from Passover until Shavuot, which is 40 days later. We have the counting of the Omer. It's a very big, significant time in Judaism in general. We read ethics of our fathers and reverse ourselves. Part of it is don't get a haircut, and during that time, and so she got me her present for me on Passover was a very awesome shaver kit, and I don't know how to use it, so
so we're seeing the fruits of that, is what it is.
She did it for me, just before I was not allowed to shave again for quite a while. So this is going to actually grow out.
Oh wow!
As is. She's also trying to encourage me to grow the wingdings, which I'm reluctant to.
I don't know.
I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But if it fits, we'll discuss that further as it comes along
Right on.
in
Right
a
on.
few days from now.
Right. Well, there's probably lots to talk about, lots to tackle. You've been away from it from a little bit. You're busy behind the scenes. You're building. You're working hard. Where do you want to go first? I know that probably the top of mind issue might be what's happening across to your neighbors there to the east of you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the north is what everybody in Israel is talking about right now. Lebanon,
Mm-hmm.
nonstop rocket fire, but peace talks today. Marco Rubio is over there.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there was when the Iran ceasefire happened, like the same day, like everybody's like, is Lebanon included? We're all sitting there for like 12 hours, 24 hours going, is Lebanon included? Because we have
Mm-hmm.
soldiers and tanks over the border behind enemy lines, and we're getting consistent rocket fire. Hezbollah seemed to think that it was. They reduced the rocket fire, but there still were some rockets.
Mm-hmm.
And then Netanyahu went in with this broad order of evacuate the Dahya area, right? Which is Dahya area is like several apartment blocks. This is the stronghold of Hezbollah in Beirut,
Okay.
which is the big city, the capital city of Lebanon. And that's where basically Hezbollah has infrastructure and all of their commanders. They said they hit 100 targets in 10 minutes. They said also, they continued to say, well, this is more significant than the pager attack. If you remember the pager attack,
Yeah.
because during the pager attack, they hit only low level grunts, whereas here they were taking out officers and stuff like that. And so basically Netanyahu answered the question, is Lebanon included with a massive campaign? And so obviously the international community is like, okay, well, if we're all talking about ceasefires and stuff like that, then let's talk about Lebanon. And it's okay, makes sense for us. Like, it's very simple. Hezbollah is sending hundreds of rockets a day into northern Israel at Israeli citizens. We want that to stop. And Lebanon, the government of Lebanon, has been supposed to be doing this for decades and have failed to do this. There's, Hezbollah is like 40% of their government. It's an armed militia, and they've not been. They don't have their government is just too weak to deal with it. And we see it as like kind of a cancer that needs to be cut out, and they can't operate on themselves. And unfortunately, like it's either we need to evacuate the entirety of northern Israel all the way to Haifa, or they need to evacuate the entirety of southern Lebanon all the way until the Litani River. And so we're going, look, you guys are the ones starting the problems. You guys are the ones who are going to be evacuating. I don't know how these peace talks are going to end.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what does the sentiment there on the street feel like right now? Is there optimism?
Not entirely. I mean, until the Iranian regime falls, we're always going to be dealing with this in some form or other. And so the sentiment here is, and it has been ever since October 7th, we need a total victory. We need a knockout victory from which they cannot come back up at us ever. And it's ambitious, but it seems necessary. Otherwise, we're just going to be in an endless cycle of violence that's going to repeat itself every few years, and we're done with that.
Hopefully, cooler heads have prevailed, and we will see something of a peace accord sooner rather than later. I mean,
I hope so. Look, I tweeted today one of the foundational principles of ethics of our fathers. Be of the sons of Aaron, seek peace, chase after peace, love the creatures, and spread the Torah. That is literally, what we're all about. And so that does that mean roll over and die when somebody wants to kill you. No, you've got to defend yourself. And if you have enemies who are actively trying to wipe you off the face of the planet, justice needs to be served, and it needs to be served completely. And so, yeah. But I do believe it's quite fascinating, United States' role in all of this. And I know that this war with Iran is probably the most unpopular war since Vietnam in the United States.
Mhm.
Even though, to me, I mean, obviously, and I'm biased, to me it seems extremely justified after Iran kills, 30, 40, some people are saying 50,000 of their own citizens, and are funding all of these terror proxies, and are building nuclear weapons, and said they want nuclear weapons. To me, it seems like the most justified U.S. war since Vietnam. However, I think that Trump did a very poor job selling it to people before he went in. People who were just like surprised, because he surprised Iran, he surprised the United States also, where they're like, we didn't ask for this. No, why are we even doing this? Didn't we say that the nuclear weapons were gone 6 months ago? So why,
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, and so there's a lot of people who are upset about this. I think that and then and Trump was the one who stopped the last war, the 12-day war, right? When there was the 12-day war between Iran and Israel, Trump was the one who says they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They've been bombing each other so long, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And then he stopped that one, and now he's leading the charge in this one. To me, it's completely confusing, and very likely there may be some element of Epstein files, because Epstein interest in the Epstein case and Google searches about Epstein dropped suddenly when the war started, and
Go
so
figure.
there could be something to do with that. But if we're looking at it on the ground today, and so I've heard so many people say that like Iran is winning or America's losing, or you have to understand that America is absolutely kicking ass in this war. Like not even close. Everything is completely going awesome for Trump within this war. Taking Venezuela's oil and then closing the Strait of Hormuz. Texas is about to have a blowout year. All of the oil they're going to be selling, they're going to be basically America's now the world's #1 crude oil exporter. And so economically speaking, that's going to be very good for the United States. The Strait of Hormuz was certainly a pain point early on, but I think that Trump's latest solution was absolutely on point and actually brilliant. As much as the meme is like, well, we shouldn't, if we wouldn't have started the war, the Hormuz wouldn't have ever closed, and now we're giving him credit for reopening it. To me, like the Strait of Hormuz wasn't why the war was started, and that's where people like miss the nuance. It was started because of the proxies, and the fact that Iran says they want nukes and they have enough nuclear material to build one, and all of those, and that they killed all their own citizens. Their citizens are basically begging for this war. Many of them, not all of them, obviously. There's certainly 90 million people there with 90 million different opinions, but there are certainly a very large portion of the population who really want this and can't even tell you that because the internet is off there. They still do not have internet. And so the reason for that is the government doesn't want them to tell that story or to organize against them. But back to the latest solution, which is basically Trump says, okay, you're going to block the Strait of Hormuz. No problem. I'm going to block the Strait of Hormuz. And he moved in there with the full might of the United States military, which is obviously the best military in the world, and under very good command, as we can see throughout the course of this war. The rescue of that pilot that was down behind enemy lines, that was absolutely miraculous. The fact that there's so few casualties, obviously every casualty is an entire world, but the fact that there's such a massive destruction of IRGC property with so few casualties on the on the American side is absolutely amazing. So it's running like a well-oiled machine. And so basically, if you look at the map, right, the Strait of Hormuz, the small area, and then the United States is coming right behind that and saying, okay, no Iranian ships were going up, because Iran was sending oil to China throughout the war up until now. And not only that, they were selling it at the new price of crude oil, so they were making even more money, and that's very frustrating, obviously,
right,
for the United States in this. And so what Trump has done now is he's closed it off, and he's sending in U.S. military ships to escort other ships through the Strait of Hormuz, which basically saying to Iran, yeah, come and attack us, and all hell's going to break loose, because there's a fragile ceasefire right now. Iran does not want to break that. They do not want to be firing at U.S. Navy ships.
right.
And so Trump has basically reopened the strait for the people he wants it to be open for, and closed it for the people he doesn't want it to be closed for, which is exactly what needs to be done in this situation. He's basically made the United States the #1 crude oil exporter by far, not only energy independent, but in a very good situation. So what's left is for the people to rise up. That's for the Iranian people, though. That's if and when they choose to do so. Nobody can tell them to do that. But I think that's when this ends.
That's when it ends. What does peace look like then in the Middle East? I mean, how do we get there, and what does that look like? I mean, there's obviously somebody's got to make the first overture, extend the first branch. How does that happen?
That's an excellent question, and we've already seen pieces of it. Actually, Trump did it in his first term. Are you familiar with the Abraham Accords?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, and so Trump says, okay, let's start making peace between Israel and her neighbors. Dubai, for example, is a very strong ally of Israel right now. Since the Abraham Accords open, I've been to Dubai like 5 times already. It's a 2.5-hour flight. I was invited to go many times as an eToro analyst, and people said, you should come to Dubai. Like, how do I get there? Oh, you need to take a flight to, you need to take a flight to Amman or something like that. And I'm like, I don't think so, like. And then somebody goes, the Pope was there. I was like, okay, well, if the Pope was there, it's probably good enough for me.
Yeah, the Pope was there.
But once they opened up direct flights, I mean, it was just a no-brainer. And so that's how it works. Is Saudi Arabia signs the Abraham Accords. I think there's a few other countries on deck. Now I think even Qatar. I think oil pipeline going from Kuwait, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, through the desert, through Israel into the Middle East. I think that all of these things make a lot of sense. I mean, once the terrorists and the terror proxies have no more money and no more power, the default is peace. It's the default. It's like, Israel is a country that has great technology. We love making deals. We love, integrating with our neighbors, prosperous. I even tweeted today. I don't think a lot of people appreciated it, but settlement expansion in the West Bank is amazing for the Palestinian economy. Amazing. It brings jobs. But when we build houses, the Arabs are the ones who are doing the work.
Do you think that this peace resolution is going to have to involve the participation of the other Gulf states, the other Gulf nations, the other Islamic nations? Is it going to take a coalition?
No, but that's the beauty of it. It's a state by state it's a state by state proposal. So UAE is already signed. We don't need any other coalition, right? So I believe there are several. I don't know which states are on, which states are on, which ones are on deck. I should probably brush up on that. But it doesn't require any sort of coalition or consensus. It is every single country for themselves in their own capacity and in their own leadership. So there's no there's no 51%.
We couldn't see a galvanization of the Gulf states all getting together, going, "Hey, Iran, you're kind of being a turd. Knock it off. We want peace." They would be, I mean, to put it blunt, I don't think they would use those words, but you know what I mean. Like, hey,
no, it's correct. Those words are correct, and this war has accelerated that by far because, as we discussed last time, one of Iran's first acts of this war was to send missiles to all of their neighbors, including Qatar and Bahrain and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, which is totally flies in the face of logic for them to do so, but has demonstrated how unstable this leadership of this regime is, and how bad it is for the world. And so, yes,
I would imagine it's like having like a really annoying neighbor that you just get upset with all the time. Like, geez, Larry left the barbecue out and it's dirty. I mean, you got the annoying neighbor that just never cleans up after themselves. It feels like the neighbors in the Gulf area needs to go, hey, get your shit together.
And he fires bullets into your yard.
Yeah, stop doing that. Not cool.
Yeah, basically like that.
we can just sum geopolitics down into a real simple analogy like that.
Basically, that's exactly how I would see it, especially in American terms.
That's fair enough then. Fair enough. In American terms here, we are optimistic, very, very optimistic that we're going to see the Clarity Act passed here. Probably here by the end of the month, if not sooner. Some folks on the timeline on the app are suggesting it might happen before then. Which, again, boy, the other night on Monday Night Bitcoin, we had a gentleman coming through with his take, very, very astute gentleman. His take on the Clarity Act was that he thought this thing would get done. We see Main Street adoption through the banks, and that we could be off to the races with new all-time highs, well on our way to 250.
Sounds good to me. All of that. I'll take all of it, man.
Yeah, right.
Peace in the Middle East, Bitcoin at 250. Man, everything peachy at that point. I mean, seriously. Yeah. What does the Clarity Act mean? I mean, I haven't read it. How far along is it?
It's in the markup already. So the folks in the Senate are talking about it. It's being, seriously now has a chance to get to the desk of the president. And I think they've really kind of, again, from the smarter people that I've listened to, the podcasts, the articles I've read, etc. They've kind of come to some agreement on the yield factor here a little bit. It looks like some folks will get yield, some won't. And I think that's kind of what folks were thinking all along, is that they're going to have some sort of compromise where nobody's really going to come out a winner. And it's kind of a lose-lose, but it's also kind of a win-win. But I think the bigger issue is that this needs to be done now and get this passed for the United States, because this is so relevant and so huge that we need to get this done. I see you just
before the midterms. Before the midterms, because Trump may have forfeited the midterms over the Iran war.
Yeah, very.
Let's call it what it is. He may have forfeited completely the midterms. I mean,
that's a very distinct possibility.
I think that people are. I think that a lot of Republicans are going to be trying to disassociate now, it's. I mean, don't forget. Like, look, the ace up his sleeve, and we've been saying this for a year and a half, is the changing of the guard of the Federal Reserve. I think it's time
if it gets done. If it gets done, it's like May 15th is I think it's hold on, I got it written down. I'm having a party.
Already. No, good. I need to know, is it a done deal or is it not a done deal?
Kevin Warsh is not confirmed because of this somewhat government shutdown. So he's even getting through the confirmation hearing. That is still somewhat suspect and up in the air right now. So He's been nominated. He hasn't been confirmed and getting through the confirmation hearings right now. It seems to be a little dicey because, again, there's that whole legal matter that, Trump was trying to put onto Powell about maybe misleading about information about the remodel around the Fed. And so that's kind of hanging out there in the wind as well. So there's still some stuff yet to happen. I think the odds are that Warsh does get approved. One thing that I did see, though, speaking of Kevin Warsh, is they disclosed some of his finance. This guy's rich. I mean, this guy's uber freaking rich. He has more wealth than any other Fed chairman in history, and he's a Bitcoiner.
Nice.
Now, they didn't disclose his Bitcoin holdings. I didn't see that part, but I did see in a lot of the publications making the rounds on the timeline that he's well-to-do.
So,
okay.
In my mind, the tough economic conditions that we are in right now are all a result of the aftermath of COVID, the excess of money printing under Powell, and then Powell going in to try and slay the inflation monster that he himself had created. Literally, this is to me the problem. And then once Trump and Powell didn't hit it off in the beginning of Trump's second term, that's when the shit really hit the fan, because Powell was then disincentivized to actually fix the economy. His incentive was to sit out his term quietly and not attract any further attention to himself.
And even after this deadline in May, he still has a spot on the board of governors through 2028.
It's irrelevant. And as far as I understand, the decision making at the Federal Reserve is very unilateral. They do have votes and whatnot, but it's a board of directors in which my understanding is that the chairman holds the entire power. And so, obviously the chairman isn't going to usually not going to want to do stuff that the board is disagreeing with because it's going to look bad on him. But that's why I say this is the ace up the sleeve, because somebody like the man that you just described is not going to give a shit. He's going to do exactly what is in his best interest, exactly what is in the best interest of the president, which happens to be what is in the best interest of the rest of the nation and the rest of the world, which is to make the economy go boom. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know how he's going to do it. I'm not that smart, but I'm pretty sure. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of money printing involved. And I would imagine that there's going to be some sort of a lowering of interest rates pretty quickly. But basically, I think that this is basically a game changer, because people underestimate the Federal Reserve's role in the global economy. They are the global economy. The Federal Reserve Chairman of the United States is basically a unilateral leader of the global economy. He makes decisions that affect everybody on the planet in a very meaningful way. Some might argue even more meaningful than the President of the United States. Certainly more meaningful than the United Nations or NATO or anything like that. Literally, it is the largest financial institution. They are the ones who decide whether money is being printed or money is being deducted from the global system. And so that is, that changing right there from tense between the Federal Reserve Chairman and the president to somebody that the president has already aligned with going in. It's gonna be beautiful. That is the golden era that we've been talking about when Trump took office, basically ready to happen. And to his credit, Powell has made significant headway in, slaying the inflation monster. And so a lot of that hard work and austerity is already behind us.
They've been saying, though, that the inflation monster is kind of coming back since all this activity happened over there in your neck of the woods.
Okay. I haven't seen that in the numbers, but also, I don't imagine that. Okay, so yes, the price of so that's not about money printing. So inflation, you have to set aside, and a lot of people conflate this. So inflation is basically the purchasing power of the dollar, which is being eroded over time. And there could be many causes of that. The way that inflation is typically measured is that you take a basket of goods, say a loaf of bread, a carton of eggs, milk, or whatever, and then you say, okay, how much is that basket today? And then you measure it again in a month from now, and you say, what's the increase or the decrease of the basket? So that's basically what inflation is and what it measures. I've actually heard people say, well, inflation is money printing. That would be incorrect. Money printing tends to cause inflation.
Right.
And what people are saying, as far as what I've seen, in this conflict, is causing inflation because of the price of oil.
Yeah.
Right. Which is,
and that affects everything.
Absolutely, it does, because the entire oil is energy. Humans basically are energy consumers. And the more energy we're able to consume, the better off our economy is. So if we have more energy, we can use more AI, we can use more compute, we can drive around. Planes are cheaper, transportation, whatever, everything becomes easier to do. All of the extensions of ourselves as human beings are cheaper and easier, and the economy is an expansion. However, when the price of oil goes up, it makes it harder for us to move around. It makes it harder for us to use the computer. It makes it harder for us to do all of those extensions and all of those things that we want to do as human beings. More specifically, when and more tangibly, when crude oil is at, $60 a barrel, right? And then it goes up to $100 a barrel. What ends up happening is that it makes things more expensive, makes transportation more expensive, and that affects our basket of goods, right? And that is also considered inflation. And so, I would say I would use the word transitory. I don't know if you remember that word.
I still remember it. Jerome Powell and all the economists. It's transitory.
And that was, for years, they were telling us it's transitory. And we're like, right. And eventually the word transitory made us want to puke.
Yep.
But I would argue that reopening the Strait of Hormuz, right? The abolition of the IRGC in Iran, peace in the Middle East, would in fact very quickly reduce the price of oil, not immediately, but in fairly short order. Remember what Stephanie was saying about crude oil. The price of crude oil, the reason it spikes up to $100 a barrel is not necessarily because of the conflict itself or even the supply constraints, as much as it's about the people who are selling it and their ability to manipulate the price given the current narrative that's going around. And if the current narrative that's going around is there's a war and the Strait of Hormuz is closed, then those who are pumping the oil, there's an endless amount of oil in the ground. The only question is how much oil is out of the ground. And that is always a matter of the cartel, which is OPEC, OPEC Plus, Russia, and now even the United States, who decides whether they want to pump more oil or less oil, and pumping less oil tends to influence the price. So that basically you're pumping less oil, you're making more money per barrel. And when there's a war going on and there's real supply constraints, it's very easy for those countries to get up and pump less oil and manipulate the price even further. So this what we're seeing on this chart. This is basically manipulation. And so once that goes away, once that reason for the manipulation goes away, all of those exporters can get back to their normal pumping regimen, and the price comes right back down. So that actually is something that can be very easily normalized once the war is complete.
Yeah.
In my mind, that will completely, I mean, the inflation that you're talking about anyways, reverses itself. Not only reverses itself, it reverses itself in a wondrous way.
But walk me through them, because we've heard so many people on Spaces, on X, on YouTube, on live streams, whatever it is, wherever you are, you've seen the content where they've been talking about the supply shock, that this is going to be big. This is going to be, years in the making. It's not only affecting, just the cost of food and transportation and fertilizer. We've got helium. We've got all these other things that are being impacted by this conflict right now. And that a lot of them are saying that this is going to have a systemic effect years. It's not just going to end overnight. Once okay, let's all sing Kumbaya and, eat a s'more. No, we're going to have some long-term lasting effects as a result of this before things really come back online. What would you say to those pundits who would say that?
But why? I mean, I just explained why not. What's the pushback?
Well, the pushback would be that we've got damaged infrastructure. We've got disrupted supply chains. We see, again, just the lack of materials. I mean, here's one, for example. This is it's so bizarre. But hold on, let me just give you one example. A company out of Japan that makes toilets can no longer get the materials they need to make their toilets. This is a very fancy, high-end, bougie toilet company, right? But now they're like,
say thank you after you take a dump. Arigato gozaimasu.
I think the company's literally called Toto. You can Google this or grok it or whatever, right? But they're like, hey man, we're done. We're shutting down because of the systemic supply chain issues due to the conflict, and this is impacting their basic materials in fabricating toilets.
Sure, and there will be companies that are reliant on specific things and edge use cases that this is inevitable, and you'll always find those whenever there's something. Yeah, break up that map, zoom out a little bit, zoom out just a tad. Keep going. Stop. Zoom in more. Okay, this is a hose. Okay, and this thing, I don't know if you can see it.
I know what you're doing.
And we do this. Oh no, the hose is closed.
We got a kink in the hose.
That's it. Hose is closed. There's no water coming out. Oh no, some businesses died because there's no water coming out. We'll say, we'll sing Kumbaya for them, or whatever we do. Say goodbye. I'm sorry, you're done.
Oh,
so what
man.
happens? What happens when the hose gets uncrimped?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Is the problem permanent? No, we're back to full flow. Done.
Full flow. We'll put some tunes on. I'm vibing with you now, Marty. You're cooking, man. I love it. It's an impromptu live stream with the CEO, Marty Greenspan, from Quantum Economics, jumping on here live.
Share it out, people. If you like what you're seeing, give us a comment. Give it a like.
I'm gonna bring a little music into it. Let's keep it going. What else is on your agenda there, boss man, you want to talk about?
Jeez, man, where do you want to go? I want to talk to Cora about all this, because she was oh man, when we were on the space with the alien, what are you guys talking about? Aliens with abundant energy, like infinite energy or something like this. It really was fascinating to me, because yeah, I believe that like the amount of energy that we use and everything like that, like some superior technology can certainly come in. And that was Cora's immediate thought as well. It's like, you guys are all talking about the Strait of Hormuz and the the entire world is like, you don't understand. And then she tied it. She listened to the whole conversation on the spaces, and she tied all of the pieces together. It was quite brilliant.
Wow.
And basically, she said the scientist that disappeared, that's because you're about to disrupt $100 trillion worth of global commerce, which is reliant on crude oil. Like, you're talking about, that's why people tend to disappear, right? It's like, you want to displace crude oil. Well, we can't let you do that. That basically is all of our money gone. But to me, it's so like, people who think that way, and I can understand people are greedy or whatever. They're just small-minded, because if we have abundant energy, like, think about it. Bitcoin has value because of the energy that is being consumed every day by the network. That is basically, in a nutshell, what gives Bitcoin its value. The US dollar has value because of the might of the US military, and because of all of the banking system and all of the compute and all of the energy that is being consumed in favor of the dollar. If there is infinite energy or something close, I don't want to say infinite, because infinite is a term beyond comprehension, but let's say more than we could ever imagine using in the next 100 years. You don't need money anymore. It makes money obsolete. Not Bitcoin, not dollars. It doesn't matter, because you just have whatever you need. And especially with the advancements in technology, it's like, you'll have 3D printers in every home. You'll have abundant food. You have basically, like, you need a car. What do you want? A Ferrari? No problem. The computer prints it for you. These are the type of things. But
there's got to be a cost, though, to get those materials, though, right? The materials to make that car are going to cost something.
Yeah, of course they are. Why do they have a cost? We just explained it 20 minutes ago. Because of the energy that they use, and that energy has a cost. The crude oil being pumped out of the ground, then manipulated by those pumpers, are the cost. Those are the cost. If there's none of that, if there's no crude oil, if crude oil was free, there would be no cost of all those goods.
There's still costs for people who are performing the labor to do this, right?
Yes, temporarily at a very minimal level.
We got AI robots coming to take their jobs.
Well,
don't worry, man.
It literally is. It's literally like that. There's no reason that a captain needs to have a crew full of people to run a ship anymore. All right. Theoretically speaking, right? I mean,
so then in a world of that nature, in a world of that caliber, then what happens? How do people make a living? How are things handled? I mean, this sounds like a very idyllic kind of weird situation. I mean, how do things progress?
Very smoothly. Very incredibly smoothly.
So if I need to go to the store, and I need to get some milk and some Rice Krispies and
why would you go to? When's the last time you went to the store? You have Amazon. Why would you go to the store?
Because I want to drive my 3D printed Ferrari that I just made in the house.
Hey, you want to go to the store. That's a different story. You want to. Okay, no problem.
Well, I need to go to the store to get goods. All right. I've printed myself the 3D Ferrari that you mentioned.
I need to go to the store to get goods. You live in America. You could just go to, say, hey, Alexa, get me the goods. And Alexa will freaking perform it for you. I mean, that can very easily, that model can be replicated all across the world, given the abundant energy thesis. It's not anything more than what it relies on that energy. So that's basically what it is. Yeah. So you say, okay, I want a box of cereal, and it's then, all of whatever's done, everything that goes.
It just
into
shows up at
making
my
that,
house. Like a drone comes in, and drops it off.
literally drops the box of cereal onto your lap.
But there's got to be isn't there a cost associated with producing the box of cereal, harvesting the wheat, processing the goods, the packaging, all of that? There's cost.
Right. So the harvesting of the wheat is done by a farmer, which is increasingly relies on automation. And so what are the costs? The cost of seed, right? And then the
fertilizer,
cost of the water, the fertilizer. And then most of the cost is the energy, right? The electricity, right? That goes into like operating all of that heavy machinery.
Yeah. Machinery, that's another big CapEx expenditure right there. Machinery. Yeah.
Right. But if those machines are built in a factory that's now automated.
But the materials that make up the machines, right? The steel, all that stuff is costing money.
Also made in a factory where it's automated. It's the making of the steel is expensive because of the energy that it takes. You need to make a very hot furnace. That means that it needs to be very hot. That's a lot of energy. That is the price of steel. The price of steel relies on is grounded in the price of crude oil. Because that's basically what it was being going into the making of it, or coal or whatever else they use to heat those furnaces. I'm not a freaking manufacturer.
Yeah, I got a factory back here. I'm producing all kinds of goods and widgets, man. Yeah, I got a little widget factory back here.
We almost launched a drone factory.
I was gonna say
of the war. It didn't.
I didn't want to bring it up.
Go so well.
Did. Yeah, you
so we did. We literally did the research at QE very early on in this war, and we're like, the end result was you cannot out Chinese the Chinese. The Chinese can do anything that you can do in your little factory 100 times cheaper,
100 times,
and more efficiently.
Man,
they're just better at it. They've got cheaper labor, cheaper energy costs, and you're done. You're cooked.
What else you want to talk about? What's else on your agenda there?
Man, what do you want to talk about? I'm open. If anybody here, anybody wants to join us on the stream,
you got the link. You can send it. You can send them the link.
I can send the link if you want to DM me, or send me a Telegram message. We can bring people up if anybody wants to.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the. See here.
Yeah, can you vote for me to co-host a podcast event by Spotify and Google? I'd really appreciate your vote. It only takes a sec.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Fantastic.
No problem with that. Yeah, man.
Let's see. So you got a couple of comments there. Okay. All right. Just seeing who's engaging.
Oh, you see comments? So yeah, whatever the comments are, let's read them out.
Taking a look. Now I got people texting me as well. No, you can't join by texting me. Oh my goodness.
Seriously.
I love that you're wanting to join though.
Yeah, the article in CoinDesk today.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's big news.
You
want to share that one up? Share your screen on that.
Yeah, I mean, huge thanks to Oliver Acuna, Quantum member, who's writing on CoinDesk, and we were having a conversation this morning about Bitcoin price. Which was, so this article came out earlier today, posted it in the QE fam group. And basically, yeah, 75K. What is it? What does 75K mean?
Yeah.
And instead of having you read it, I'll just explain it to you.
Yeah. Give
Basically,
me the TLDR.
Yeah. So in technical analysis, which is reading the charts, you have.
Oh, your screen's gone
two,
or something there. I'm not sure what happened to
oh
your screen.
man, why did that happen? I thought I did entire screen. Maybe I didn't. My bad.
Oh, there we go.
So you basically have two lines which are called support and resistance, right? Yep. So the support is underneath the price, basically supporting the price from going lower, and resistance is basically same kind of line, but above the price and making it resisting it from going higher. And so if we draw our support line below the price and we draw our resistance line above the price, obviously we want to touch as many points on the line. I mean, after you've been doing technical analysis for decades, you don't really analyze too much exactly which points you're touching. Like
it's close enough.
It's it's just an eyeball, and you see this, you kind of see this stuff in your sleep after a while. But 75,000, that's a really important level for Bitcoin because it's right at the top of the range. This is the resistance, basically. And so the question is, what happens if we break out of the resistance? So you got to break out. Obviously, breakout to the upside is good. There's something called a false breakout, which would be if it goes up and then it comes right back into the range that we're currently looking at. The range right now is 65K to 75K. And if it does that, well, that's not so bad because we still have the support, right, at 65K. What would be really bullish is if we break out, right? Doesn't matter how far we break out. It could be, 78, it could be 85 or even 90. What we'd really want to see is a retest, right, of that 75K level, right? So the line that was once support now turns into a resistance, and that would be extremely bullish. So let's say it goes to 82.5,
comes back down,
the support, and then it exceeds that level again. And once it exceeds that level again, then you know that support has really, that resistance has really turned into a valid support level. That's when you start to get really bullish. What's usually more likely to happen is that we get some kind of a breakout, to here or so, and then we come back in and make a new support level, which is higher than the previous support. And that's still quite bullish. Obviously not as bullish as a clean breakout and then a test of support. That's where we get really bullish. But that would start to, make the range that we're looking at, instead of a flat 65K to 75K, more of an upward facing channel. Alternative, obviously, in the bearish scenario is we get a false breakout, and then a break below 65K, and that would be the capitulation level that we've been talking about for the last few weeks. We've been talking about, that's usually how these type of bear market scenarios end up turning into some kind of capitulation, where you can see a very clear bottom, and then turning around gradually and starting out with a new bull market, snowball effect into a larger and larger bull market, and people relying on the price going up only. And then, that's how these things tend to play out. But I think, to me, it's still too soon, right? There's still unresolved issues. I think what's most fascinating about this, if we take a look at, the Bitcoin chart and the geopolitics of what's happening, which is all anybody can really think about or talk about these days. Bitcoin has been reacting to headlines in very limited capacity. So there was, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I believe it was when Trump first announced that there would be some sort of a ceasefire or that they were talking to some people in Iran. And we saw Bitcoin shooting up, almost immediately. I got to take this. Hold on a second.
Yeah, no worries.
This is clearly an emergency.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Did you get me? Did
Yep.
you hear me?
Now I got you back. Everything cool?
No, unfortunately, no. I woke up my son. I've been too
loud.
Too loud.
Too excitable. On that note, then,
I'm excited. Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Appreciate everybody for watching.
Yeah.
And it's 2 a.m. here, so I'm gonna go take care of my kid.
You should do that. All right. We will call it a day. Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
All right. Good catching up, boss. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
A lot of people in sort of pop culture thinking that this could be the end.
Yeah, so the dip that you're talking about is actually nothing new for Bitcoin. As far as percentage terms go, if we look at it historically, we've seen these types of pullbacks before.